Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Hallowed Be Thy Game. Ren here, and I am so excited to be sharing with you today my 20,000 subscriber AMA. I'm a little late on this one, you'll have to forgive me, it's been a little crazy here lately, but I'm just extremely humbled by all the support and the questions. I really can't thank you all enough. What started out as essentially me wanting to talk to someone about video games while I was traveling a whole bunch and it was kind of a lonely time in my life, we've built an incredible community here. I'll forever be indebted to you all for that. And I want to thank everybody who submitted questions, and if anybody hasn't submitted questions and you kind of want to know, you can respond down in the comments and I'll do my best to get back to you as soon as I can. But again, thank you all for everything. It's just been an incredible journey and one that I never thought would be here. I've got to meet and talk to people from all over the globe and just chat about the games we all know and love, and I'll forever be thankful for that. But without further ado, let's just go ahead and jump right in. First question is from Ty Lorian, a longtime viewer of the channel. Thank you so much. So glad to hear you're almost at 20K. It's so close. Here's one question for you. What is a game that you most wish to see to get a physical release? We hope to see you keep growing ever past 20K. Thank you so much for the question. But I think out of all the games that we've covered hidden gem-wise, the one I would love to see a physical copy of the most would be Lost Ruins. Now, I would say like Rabby Ribby and a few others for Switch specifically, because, you know, we love the Switch here, but there is physical copies of that already existing. I think Lost Ruins is completely deserving of it, and I'm genuinely shocked nobody's ever done that yet. So hopefully some publisher or something will see this and help us all out. Thanks for the question. Sarix says, congrats. You've been a spectacular reference for truly stellar hidden gems. Thank you so much. I actually discovered and recently beat Smelter due to your suggestions. Rock on. Congratulations. Here's a question for you. What series do you want to see get revived on the Switch? Sega leaks coming out and got me wondering. I know, me too. Obviously, the P3 remake rumors got me through the roof, and I probably would have said that as my number one. In my heart of hearts, I really want to see Xenosaga Trilogy come back. Obviously, a Xenogears, Xenosaga, just to have them all on Switch would be absolutely mind-bending for me. But if I could only choose one series to come back, and being really stingy, it would be Xenosaga. Outside of that... You know, Super Robot Tyson OG Saga Endless Frontier, please come back in some manner. Sasash asks, congratulations and loving the work. Thank you so much. Question, what would you probably wish a game to be like if you were able to incorporate your own ideas into making one? Hypothetical. You know, I've been really growing very much in love with the create your own party aspects of a game, kind of like 7th Dragon 3, Code VFD, or even most recently like Undernauts, Labyrinth of Yomi. I would love to see aspects of like that, but with a fully realized 3D kind of high budget work behind it. Maybe get something similar to what we see from like Persona 3 with, you know, 3D exploring with like SMT5 elements. Those are my favorite, you know, turn-based games. I love those so much. I would love to see something like that, but give me much more autonomy in it. I think a lot of people can still impress themselves on a kind of character they create on their own. Now, that might just be my MMORPG roots speaking there, but I would just love to see more of like the blend of an MMORPG like you see with a single-player Xenoblade game, which I would very much akin to like a massive MMO. But see it in maybe the turn-based genre with some 3D action elements. I would like to have maybe incentives to get bonus attacks by like maybe attacking an enemy first, or, you know, just really cool things, but maybe expand it out much more. Maybe not anything revolutionary, but, you know, I've just kind of been wanting to see the mold stay the same, but maybe be shook up just a little bit and giving more player autonomy. You'll have to forgive me, I can't read your name, but thank you for your question. How many consoles do you own and which system is your favorite? Might be a little bit of a basic question, but I'm curious, and congrats on almost hitting 20K, you deserve it. Your videos are always great quality. Gosh, thanks so much. This is a great question, and you'll have to forgive me, my brain like collapsed trying to figure this out. So if I don't count any repeats or anything like that, I think I have about 15. Now, there is a lot of overlap there because I do use like my Wii to play GameCube games. If I had to pick a singular favorite, this is a tough question. In fact, I'm having a little bit of a moral crisis here because I'm so attached to so many. If I'm honest with myself, it's going to be up between the 3DS and the Switch. As of right now in May 2023, I'd probably pick the 3DS just for the JRPGs that are still, as of right now, exclusive to it, like SMT4 for Apocalypse, Radiant Historia, top 5 all time. But there's still the PS1, PS2, and the Vita. It's really tough, but for sake of argument, heck, let's just make a stand. The 3DS. The 3DS is my favorite, thank you. Ask me again in 5 minutes, and that answer might change. But I just feel that as I get older, I just grow so much more attached to handheld gaming. And now that I have a Steam Deck with RetroArch and I'm able to play PS1, PS2 games on it that I've, been wanting to play and capture footage for years, even the Steam Deck is just extremely useful for utility. Nathaniel Nighthawk asks, congrats on 20K. What is your most valuable game in your collection by price and by sentimental value? Oh man, I love this. Also, do you plan on doing an updated game room tour sometime this year? Thank you. I had no idea that people might be interested in that, and I will absolutely do an updated game room tour. I think they're fun, and I'm happy to hear somebody wants to see it. Now, my favorite game my most valuable game in my collection by price, I think it's still Arno Surge Plus, Odin Unborn Star, complete in box for the PS Vita. That was... last I checked, because I haven't updated like Game Eye or anything like that in a while, that was still number one. However, by sentimental value, it's going to be really random here, but I have a sealed copy of King's Quest VI for the PC. My father got me that, well over a decade ago for Christmas, and it was just kind of a gift that came out of nowhere, and it meant a lot to me, and I have such warm, nostalgic memories playing that original King's Quest VI, many, many moons ago. And yeah, I think that if my game room was on fire and I could only grab one thing, I'd grab that just because, I can't replace those memories that I have for that. So, but thank you. Stouts, just subscribe, thank you. We seem to have nearly identical tastes in gaming genres, which I really appreciate, except for seemingly one, which I've never seen you cover, 3D platformers. So my question is, how do you feel about them? And if you enjoy them, what are some of your favorites? Now, I do like 3D platforms. Outside of sports games, there's not really a genre I hate. Actually, that's not true. I don't like first-person shooters. But, 3D platformers I do really like, but I haven't really kept up with them in a long time. But I did love Banjo-Kazooie on the 64, also Mario 64, as well as I've been getting into them a little bit more with my son. I'm looking to pick up Kirby and the Forgotten Lands, and I'm pretty confident I'm going to like this, but I think it's going to be for different reasons, because my son's really gravitating towards 3D platformers. I don't play them as much as I would like to or should. Danik is much more into them than I am, so he's usually my authority on which ones I should play. Aramis Baramis says, as for my question, what do you think is the most unjust Metacritic score for a game, specifically one on the Switch? I really enjoy the content and hope to see more. Thank you so much. For longtime viewers of the channel, you are probably going to roll your eyes here, but without a doubt, the most unjust Metacritic score is Dust Diver 2 for the Nintendo Switch. Critics missed it on this one. I find every once in a while when I do like a big review on a game, and I see everything the game has in Dust Diver 2, I 100% it on Switch, and I'll see other people's reviews, and I just kind of wonder at times, like, did we play the same game? Because I think the first Dust Diver is a little bit more critically accepted by critics and reviewers, quote unquote. But for me, there is no measurable metric that Dust Diver 2 is in any way a worse game than the first. I love Dust Diver 1, it's one of my favorite games on Switch, but Dust Diver 2 crushes it. Everything about it's better. You get to visit more locations, there's more character interactions, you get to actually play as like all the different characters in the game, and there's more than just 4. Everything about it slams, and everyone misses it. Everybody just, I'll get these like generic copy and pasted comments from people who've maybe seen other YouTubers who didn't like it, and I'm just like, I'm sorry, like, I played it, I think it's excellent, and Metacritic to me is kind of symptomatic of just like a disconnect that happens between people who actually play and enjoy games and people who are maybe, their livelihood is just to play a game and tell you about it. Now, reviews serve a very apt purpose, but for me, as I get older, I find that it's just, show me what the gameplay looks like, and I'll judge for myself if I like it. But yeah, Dust Diver 2, people missed the mark, and Metacritic's score is at 60, which is laughably just off the mark. I love that game. Choked by backlog. This might be a weird one, but is there a game whose plot you got spoiled on in some way, and then when you played it later, you felt like that it severely detracted from your experience? Like, it's a great game and all, but you just can't shake the feeling that it would have been so much better and or higher on some lists for you if you had simply not stumbled on the spoiler. Happened to me. I am so sorry this happened to you. I'm thankful to say that up until I did YouTube, I never used Twitter or Facebook or anything like that. So I'll admit, I've made it quite a long time without games being spoiled for me. But when it comes to movies, it's a different case. In Fight Club, I was renting it that night from Hollywood Video, and a bud at school was just like, oh yeah, wasn't that ending crazy when Bloom? And I'm like, dude, I just told you I was going to rent it tonight. So for me, Fight Club will never be as incredible or as excellent as it could have been just from that one dude just like not listening to what I was saying. Anyways, that's it for me. I'm so sorry that happened to you. I wonder what game got spoiled for you. But anyways, I'm sorry that happened. Basinki asks, have you ever wanted to do game development yourself? Or if you have already, what'd you make? I have never done it myself, but a huge kudos to people who do. I can't imagine working that hard on something and then putting yourself out there for a singular massive project. I'm a weekly upload channel, so any hateful comments I get, I can kind of let slide off my back for the next week, because, we're always moving forward. But do we have any game devs watching the channel? I'd love to know down in the comments. Mikey, longtime viewer of the channel, thank you so much. Great work. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the relatively new trend of limited print publishers. Clearly, there are some games that might not get physical releases without them, but there's no need for their frankly predatory FOMO sale practices. Why not just have a rolling window of 100, 500, 1,000 print runs? Enough people have paid, print more. The number of YouTubers and friends I see who buy a game on every format for these publishers because they don't want to miss out is pretty disgusting. I will admit I do love the limited print sites, and I think it is fulfilling a very real service and need. However, there are some things that I've kind of looked over for a long time that I just can't overlook anymore. And for me, I think one of the most egregious things and practices that these companies do is sell a box at checkout. Look, if you are structuring your business to appeal to somebody who wants to preserve a game physically in their collection, then treat it as such, and don't make people pay $3, $4 to put your item in a box, because these people are sending sometimes in bubble mailers, and then when they arrive destroyed, they don't want to work with you. And I've heard this as a growing problem from a lot of viewers who reach out to me, and it's sad. I hate to see it, but there is absolutely the weaponization of FOMO happening across all spectrums of physical gaming, and it's becoming unimaginably annoying. And this doesn't really just touch on this topic, but scalpers or I don't really have a problem with resellers, but when consistently, if there's a bigger collector's edition release, and no matter what, you're going to see tons and tons of people who are just scalping these collector's editions to put up on eBay. It's making physical game collecting exhausting, and frankly, at times, I'm completely sick of it. I will always have a heart for physical, so inherently, I do want to admire what these limited run publishers are doing, but they need to do better. But I do hope they can do better. I wish it wasn't so frustrating. I know there is a clear movement from at least from major game companies to go more digital, but I'm not ready for that. And I can't honestly say I ever will. And I think the bigger question that I'm still trying to answer for myself is, if everything went 100% digital, what would I do? Would I just slink back and play all the games I have in my backlog and collection? And that might very well be the case. How about everybody who's watching? If everything went digital tomorrow, would you keep playing newer releases? I'm sure I would for bigger games, but I can't honestly say I would be gaming the same way with newer releases now. Jojo asks, how do you feel about game preservation and piracy? What's your take on the big three and the steps they take to preserve and dissuade others from doing so, fans and mods? I was a computer gamer for such a long time with MMORPGs. For me, game preservation I think is absolutely essential. And to be honest, I forget who said it. I don't know if it was Gabe Newell or someone who said it, but piracy is essentially a sign of a lack of service. I play a lot of retro games on my Steam Deck through RetroArch, and it just offers me the ability to capture footage for these older games that, because I can't afford to go and buy these hundreds and hundreds of dollars of raw equipment and mods and stuff to put on my retro equipment. But I do keep it to games I just have physically. But that's a different thing for everybody. And so I have I have a much more lackadaisical approach to this. A lot of people would comment on my 3DS videos and everything saying, why don't you just mod this or that? I'm not legally ever going to tell somebody to do that stuff. I don't care. And I think that's kind of the thing that I wish people kind of knew is like, I don't personally care, what you do. That's between you and yourself. And a lot of times these games are only able to be played digitally through maybe an emulation and everything, just due to disk rot or not being able to find the actual hardware. And I think each year that goes by, we just grow closer to where if you want to play a lot of these older games, it's going to have to be through emulation, because unfortunately there's a physical degradation happening that I don't think anyone really realized would be happening so quickly. But anyways, I know that's a little bit of a wishy-washy answer, but yeah, I honestly, I don't really care. I have kind of a morally gray compass probably when it comes to this, but I know a lot of people are passionate about it. But hey, I mean, games are meant to be played. Where I do draw the line is where people are bragging about, emulating Switch games and this or that, or they're sticking it to the man. That's pretty cringy to me. I hate when when Metroid Dread came out and everybody was bragging about, oh, hey, we're quote unquote stealing from Nintendo. It's just like, come on. Like, it's a little bit it's more than a little bit obnoxious, but yeah, I mean, really though, there is a very practical and preservation aspect to emulating games, and heck, I freaking love it. Kinshero says, congrats, really love your channel, you deserve more subs. Thank you, that's so kind. As for the question, what is your favorite console and your top 5 favorite games for it? Okay, so I did say the 3DS just a little bit ago, so let me just go ahead and zero in on that, because I think it would be extremely difficult for me to do it for the Switch for some reason. But for the 3DS, you have Radiant Historia, SMT 4 and 4 Apocalypse, I do count those as 2 separate games, Devil Survivor 2 Overclocked, and Kirby Planet Robobot. Anyways, I would love to know what yours are down in the comments. Baxel Gorelli asks, really enjoyed your content and really helps me find new games I enjoyed. I do have a question. What do you think of the Mega Man Battle Network that is coming up? I am looking to pick it up, actually. I have sadly not picked it up yet, but everything about it has my full attention, and I'm wanting to get to it. It's just, man, May and April were just like left, right punches for releases I wanted to get. So I will, before the end of the year, have this game picked up, and I'm excited to dive in. Sega Blocks, you rock. Thanks for all the support over the years, man. You are a true friend. Sports games aside, what is a gaming genre you absolutely cannot stand or despise? How did you know I would say sports games? I hate them. I hate them. I really do. I just can't get into them. However, I'm going to have to go with first-person shooters. And, I'm not completely against it, but just with the massive push to battle royales or maybe survival sims, it's not there for me. And I'll admit, I instantly check out. Redfall and all those types of games aside, they just do not hold my interest. So, but yeah, hey, which is odd because, outside of like Fallout games and everything like that, there's just nothing there for me, to just invest my mind and, keep my attention. Ophinian Mind, again, thank you so much for all this support. You rock, man. My question is, what is the single worst game review you can remember watching or reading? My choice is the IGN review that called SMT5 Persona Without the Heart. That just became meme godhood to me, So since you've picked this one, because I honestly would probably have picked that one, I thought that was just hilariously bad for what I consider to be the best playing turn-based game in all history. SMT5 is goated, in my opinion. I'm going to have to go with Soul Hackers 2 reviews. I'll be honest, that kind of blackpilled me, that whole run of reviews that year. I was just continuously annoyed by massive reviews. And, there's a lot of games that have kind of reached this godhood, deified status for people where they overlook a lot of just annoyances and everything. But like with Soul Hackers 2, there was just a lot of weird hyperbole at times in a lot of the reviews. It felt like there was a ton of clickbaiting going on. I rolled my eyes consistently. But the problem is that it wasn't just one person. I just kind of felt like the herd had deemed Soul Hackers 2 was trash and no one should like it. And I think it's a huge miss. And I'm waiting for the day a couple years from now when people are like, oh, hey, Soul Hackers 2 is actually great. But that's just my doom and gloom side talking. I love Soul Hackers 2, and I think a lot of people miss the mark on it. Chat of stats. The most important question, burger or pizza? Cowabunga, man, I gotta go with pizza. Orteg A. Do you consider the Zelda games to be RPGs, JRPGs? I do. Without a doubt, this is easily the one singular stance that has gotten me the most flack, hatred, and just seethe comments in all the history of my channel. I consider Breath of the Wild to be an RPG. It's a huge discussion for another day. But look, I just think with the number-based scaling of certain weapons, crafting, stat bonuses and modifiers, and you know, I get it, you grab hearts and everything, but there are technically an incremental scale. Thanks for asking, and I'm sure I'm going to get a few hateful comments in this one. Oh no! But for me, RPG is the most generic, broad spectrum term ever. It sets a mild, vague, shadowy suggestion of what you're speaking about in a game, but there is no deep, clear-cut, pinpointed descriptor for a game. And I think a lot of people still want RPG to be this very narrowly focused, defined term. Same with JRPG. But I just think we're past that. And yeah, anyways, I am not in the majority in that term. So Denis Viskov asks, who is the best mastermind in games and why? Oh man, it has to be someone from Metal Gear Solid, I feel like. It's just the constant plot twist and the mind-blowing. So maybe Kojima? Kojima, he's crafty. He pulled one over on me on Metal Gear Solid 2, and I've not trusted him ever since. I'm just kidding. Look, I love Metal Gear Solid, but I feel like there was a level of depth and just rawness to those stories that I will always have a soft spot for. Rattata fan. Here's my question. What are your thoughts on the recent discourse around the term JRPG being considered racist by some Japanese game devs? Look, I'm never going to go as far as to say like what someone should think is offensive or anything like that. I love Yoshi P, and I'll admit my heart broke a little bit when I thought he found the term JRPG to be derogatory, and his reasonings made sense. I want to say that, but coming from my perspective, the only derogatory term I can think to describe RPGs is a Western RPG. I have fully felt that over the past decade that they've lost their identity, they've lost their soul. I recently played Morrowind, and it was back in an era where I felt that the Western studios had this bold, realistic, and immersive techniques that they would bring these personalities to the world. And I do feel that in recent years, especially the last 5 years, that they've just lost their way. And there's focus on the wrong things. There's focus on superfluous things and maybe graphics. And you know, I know graphics and everything bring a lot, but I honestly don't know if I could tell you what a Western studio's identity is. I still use the term JRPG, whether I should or not, I don't know. But for me, I consider it to be more of a term identifying a game of certain cultural influence. But you know, I mean, coming from where Yoshi P is, I get it. You know, I mean, it was used in a slamming and dismissive manner in the past. Tark's Gauntlet recently had an incredible video out on the topic, just showing the way people, and especially Western reviewers and such, would talk about JRPGs, you know, 15, 20 years ago. And it was atrocious. It was like horrible. It was really bad. And but for me, in my heart, JRPGs are my favorite genre, and I see no signs of that changing, because for me, I still feel that they create games from heart, with passion. They're not influenced by factors that I think have just taken the heart and soul out of Western game development. I hope that in some way shares my thoughts on it. It's a touchy subject, and I'm not going to make light of that. Mo Musashi 28, are you hyped for the Pixel remasters? I certainly am. I have them pre-ordered, but unfortunately I pre-ordered them with some other things. and I forgot to make it a separate order, so I'm going to be waiting a hot minute until a couple of other things come out from PlayAsia. But yes, very, very hype, much hype. Mr. Boyward, what's a game that you got rid of and wish you could have it back? Speaking of Metal Gear Solid, I don't even like the game. I thought it just took out a lot of the soul from Metal Gear Solid Shadow Moses for the PS1. But the remake they did for GameCube, Twin Snakes, I really didn't enjoy the game. I know there's a lot of fans for it, there's a lot of haters for it. I fall into the camp of I did not like it. However, it's extremely expensive these days, and I could kick myself for getting rid of it. Phil One Up Collects, congratulations, man. Happy for you. Now that your channel has grown, do you find it hard to interact with your community and reply to everyone? Do you ever feel overwhelmed by the success sometimes? Also, what advice would you give to smaller channels trying to grow? Well, thank you so much. I really don't consider my channel to be super big. I personally still feel I can keep up with the comments, but I will say I am about to have a second son, so that aspect of my life I'm finding hard to keep up with much of anything these days. But I'm very excited that our family's growing, and I will admit that I am deeply humbled by the success of the channel and the community we've grown here, and I do feel very protective of that. The advice I would give to smaller channels is be protective of what you're creating, and make sure that you make it heartfelt and passionate, because I think outside of equipment upgrades and everything like that, you should use what you have, make do with what you got, whether that be using the capture the last 30 seconds feature on your Switch, whatever. Try to make what you have work, but make sure whatever you're creating comes from the heart. And if you're passionate about it, I think that people out there will identify and be able to relate more to passion, whether that be, you know, for whatever topic. Just be passionate about it and be honest with yourself. And outside of that, you know, just be careful of other channels that might want to like sub for sub. If you're not careful, you can kind of get caught in a circle of just wanting to watch other people's stuff, to watch yours, likes for likes. That does not work. The YouTube algorithm is an unfeeling, uncaring, and it's going to be looking for who's watching your channel and if they would want to show your video to other people who are watching similar type videos. So just be careful of that. And for me personally, I would create a new account. I transferred over my personal YouTube account to be my what the channel is, and I should have just created a whole new account altogether. But anyways, that's just my nickel's worth of free advice. Ichigo, congrats, and here's my question. If you can only choose one aspect of a game to be good and the rest suffer terribly, what would it be and why? Graphics, performance, story, characters, music, gameplay, price. Looking forward to the fun AMA. Thank you. So this is tough. I've often thought about this because sometimes, you know, the art design can make me play a game. Sometimes the story can make me play it. Characters, music. Yeah. But I think at the end of the day, just a generic catch-all, number one most important thing to me would definitely be the gameplay. Because, you know, I do play longer JRPGs, and man, I always have so much more fun if just the gameplay loop of it is more enjoyable. But I will come forward and say, sometimes I've played a game just because I thought the characters looked awesome. Willie, that's no ordinary rabbit. Congratulations. Here's my question. Have you played Lost Odyssey and or Fantasian? Both are from Miss Walker if you have problems finding the two. Now, I have played Lost Odyssey. I love that game. I would consider it one of the saddest video games ever made, but I think it's extremely beautiful, and I would wish that Xbox or somebody would do something with that game. Now, I want to play Fantasian, and if I remember right, I'm hopeful that it will come to consoles or Steam at some point, and I will absolutely play it, because I love Miss Walker, and I'm hoping to see even the last story come back. The Big Bridge, thank you for your kindness over the years. I've loved interacting with you. It's been awesome meeting you. Now, it's time to ask my first video game nerdy question of the year. Which is your favorite video game spin-off? Woo, this is so tough. I'm going to have to go with Persona 5 Strikers. I did not think that an action RPG, Muso-style game would mesh with the press-turn battle system, but they absolutely crushed it. I got Danik to play it. He felt the same. I love that game. It didn't review extremely well, and I don't even think the community liked it, but it's one of those games that if you play it like you're playing a Persona game and use the buffs, debuffs, and all that jazz, it has a massive payoff. I loved it, and I hope that it's a sub-series spinoff that continues on with maybe Persona 6. Humberto, what would you say is your favorite JRPG per system? I don't know if you already have a video answering this question, but if not, the answer could be covered in a video or series of videos of their own. I'm always interested in these kind of things. I think it's great, and I would love to cover the whole wide spectrum of every JRPG per console that I've played, but I'll just keep it to 3 here, and I will absolutely be visiting this in the future. That's a great idea. But for the DS, I'm going to have to go with Super Robot Tyson OG Saga Endless Frontier. For the 3DS, I would go with Radiant Historia by a light year. I freaking love that game. It is just unimaginably impactful to me. And for the Nintendo Switch, it's going to be a toss-up between Xenoblade Chronicles 2, Dragon Quest XI, or Persona 5. Now, technically, I played Persona 5 first on the PS5, so on the PS4, so I might move that one back a little bit. This is definitely a topic I think I would love to go in deeper on. Thank you. And Juan Rose, thanks again for all the support over the years, man. Congratulations, boxers or briefs? I'm gonna have to go with boxer briefs. Now, favorite waifu from each Mega 10 game. Ooh, this is tough. Okay, for SMT4 Apocalypse and SMT5, it's gonna be Cleopatra. From Nocturne, it's gonna be Pixie. It's gotta be, right? And, man, you know, from SMT4, I'm gonna have to go with Izanami. Yeah. There's so many others, but, I mean, okay, I'll throw in a Persona game here. Makoto from Persona 5. Okay, we'll end it off on a strong note. Those are almost 30 questions that I got on my AMA. I want to thank everybody who submitted a question. I will definitely be keeping up with the comments if there's any others. Thank you, everybody. We wouldn't be here. 20,000, 10,000, 1,000, none of it would have happened just without the excellent community we have here. Just thank you all, from my family to yours. I also want to thank the channel members and patrons. I'm just humbled and just deeply grateful for all your support. And yeah, and to all the new subscribers, thank you. I'm happy you're here, and I'm excited to continue on talking about these games that we all know and love. I wish you all the best, and I'll see you next time.